Peace, peace. This your host, Selah-Shlaom. And this is the Cosmon Teachings in the words of Jehovah and his angel ambassadors from the Cosmon Bible, OAHSPE. And the topic of discussion today is called Reincarnation. Now, what is reincarnation? Well, the word means to return in the flesh, as in to be born again. Now, OAHSPE reveals the true nature and origin of reincarnation and where the idea and concept stems from. But first, before I explain that, let me explain the nature, the system, and order of the conception of mortal birth being a newborn product of creation. Now in the book of Jehovah chapter 6 verse 21 it states, "As I quicken the seed of the firstborn, so will I quicken all the seed to the end of the earth. And each and every man-child and woman-child born into life will I quicken with the new spirit, which shall proceed out of me at the time of conception. Neither will I give to any spirit of higher or lower heaven power to enter a womb." So this is the decree coming from the Creator. So the idea of reincarnation in that manner of re-entering a womb after a person already lived a physical life is false. So when a person dies, we can incarnate and show ourselves. But to be reincarnated, to be coming back through the womb and be born again, is false. And that's the difference between reincarnation and incarnation. Now, in the book of Judgment chapter 14 verse 8 it states, "In likeness of father and mother are all children born into the world. And every child is a new creation, quickened into life by the presence of the Creator, who is the all-life." So here again, every person is born a new spirit. Now, Book of the Ark of Bond, chapter 28, verse 27 and 28, it states, verse 27, "The ever-present quickened him into life in his mother's womb. And he is then and there a new creation, his spirit from the spirit, Jehovah, and his body from the earth, a dual being forever and ever." Verse 28, "His destination is everlasting resurrection, in which matter man can have delight delightful labor as he rise upward forever and ever." So here again, verifying that every person is a newborn spirit quickened at the time of conception. So the idea that you once lived before your actual physical birth is a lie and a doctrine by fallen angels. And I'll prove that later. Now, in the book of Sentences, son of Jehovah, chapter 8, verse 8 and 9, it states, verse 8, God said, "Hereon hangeth the highest testimony of the person of great Jehovah, the nearest blank of all the living created he, man, purposely unlike all the rest, whereas according to the order of the other animal world, a newborn baby should be already wise." Verse 9, Jehovah said, "All the living have I provided with certain paths to traveling. But man alone I created new out of all things dead and dissolved, and he shall grow forever. To the beast I gave an already created sense, self. To man I alluded angels. And even these I provided with others above them, and yet others above them, forever and ever. Hence, the first of man, the newborn babe, I created a blank in sense and judgment, that he may be a witness that even he himself was fashioned and created anew by my hand. Neither created I him imperfectly, that he should re-enter a womb and be born again. That which I do is well done, saith Jehovah." So again, Jehovah is declaring that all people are newborn spirits at the time of conception. And once you come out of that womb, that's it. It's a one-way ticket entering the world through the womb. And again, Jehovah disregards the idea of re-entering a womb and being born again after you already lived an earthly life. So anybody coming to you talking about you were somebody in the past is a doctrine of a fallen angel. And I will prove that now. Prove that reincarnation is a doctrine inspired by fallen angels. Now, before I explain this, let me give you a breakdown of the grades and rates of mortals and angels. Now the earth and its atmosphere are arranged in grades. Grade 1 being the lowest grade residing on the earth. Grade 50 being midway between the earth and atmosphere, or etheria. And grade 99 being the highest atmospherian grade belonging to the planet. Angels of low grade are the ones who teach reincarnation. That you will come back to the earth and live again, while the angels of high grade teach progression off the planet. So the difference here is that the teaching of reincarnation denies the progress of spirit. So for example, the teaching of reincarnation is like a school, starting from the first grade, graduating to the 12th grade, and then starting over again in the first grade, recycling the same process over and over, being subjected to that same school. While angels of high grade will teach after the 12th grade, you are to go off into the universities, progress into higher education. That's just an example that the teaching of reincarnation are not progressive in the scope of the cosmic order. Now, Book of Judgment, chapter 4, verse 11, it states, "But of such as are below grade 1, there are more than 6,000 million, being mostly such angels as knowing nothing more than babies, though for the most part they were full-grown adults as to earth life. Some are fetals, some engrafters, professional reincarnators, and so on, calling themselves reincarnated, and in fact, knowing no other heavens, being disbelievers in the all-person and in my exalted kingdoms." So here you have it, reincarnation being a belief inspired by low-graded angels. Now the heavens are set up for progression, and if you are to be reincarnated back on earth, this denies the progression in heaven through the grades. And through the first, second, and third resurrection, or heaven. Now, Book of OAHSPE, Son of Jehovah, chapter 5, verse 10, it states, "And as one spirit returns and fastens itself on a mortal, so doth another, and another, till hundreds and thousands of spirits dwell in one corporeal body, often driving hence the natural spirit I gave in the time of conception. And these mortals knew it not, and they became void of direct purpose because of the confusion of soul, and they were worthless on the earth." So this verse describes how spirits can move through mortals and drive out the native spirit that you was given at conception. This is an example of spirit possession. Such angels as engraft themselves on mortals, becoming as a twined spirit to the one corporeal body, shall be known as reincarnated spirits. But where such spirits usurp the corporeal body, as of an infant growing up in the corporeal body, and holding the native spirit in abeyance, such spirits shall be known as demons, which was the origin of that name. And a perfect example of this is in the movie The Exorcist, where the young girl was possessed by a spirit, holding her native spirit at bay. Verse 10, "Spirits who inhabit mortals in order to live on the substance mortals eat and drink, and often absorbing the strength and life of mortals, shall be known as Uzans, or vampires. Nevertheless, these shall not include fetals." So here is where the concept of vampires stems from. In the movies, the vampire is depicted as sucking the life force out of their victims, showing you the parallel. Now verse 11. "All the foregoing who are not in the way of resurrection shall be called drugers, or spirits of darkness." Verse 12. "Now behold, there were millions of angels in those days who knew no other life, but to continue engrafting themselves on mortals. And when one mortal died, they went and engrafted themselves on another mortal. And when one mortal died, they went and engrafted themselves on another." Verse 13. "These were the fruit of the teachings of the false gods, who had put away the All-Highest, Jehovah. They could not be persuaded that Etheria was filled with inhabitable worlds. Verse 14. And they professed that they had been reincarnated many times, and that previously they had been great kings or philosophers. So here verifies that reincarnation is a doctrine by fallen angels, or low-graded angels. Verse 15. Some of them remember the Jayan period of 1,000 years, and so hope to regain their natural bodies and dwell again on the earth, and forever hence was founded the story that every 1,000 years a new incarnation would come to the spirits of the dead. So these philosophies and doctrines about reincarnation come from fallen angels who have not learned to progress in the heavens of the earth. So this video is just to show that reincarnation is not part of the cosmic order. It goes against the cosmic order because you're not progressing, you're going backwards. And with that, I'd like to say peace and blessings. Shalom.